You're standing in a room with people you've known for years, listening to them laugh, joke, and speak the same way they always have. But this time, something feels different. You notice the small digs hidden inside their humor. You notice how someone's smile fades the moment you stop agreeing with them. You notice the silence that follows when you choose not to comfort them the way you used to. In that quiet moment, you realize you're not seeing new behavior. You're seeing old behavior with new eyes. And that realization can feel shocking, even painful, because it means the change didn't happen around you. The change happened inside you. Later in this video, I'm going to explain why this shift often makes people around you feel exposed without you saying a single word, and why many empaths mistakenly blame themselves for the tension that follows. I'll also show you the one mistake that causes some healed empaths to dim their light again just to keep peace, even after they've worked so hard to grow. When your emotional energy has been drained for a long time, you often don't realize how much you've been shrinking to keep others comfortable. You laugh at jokes that feel disrespectful. You agree to plans you don't enjoy. You listen to people vent for hours while your own feelings stay locked inside. Over time, this becomes your normal. You believe that being understanding, patient, and available is simply who you are. But once you begin to heal and reconnect with your own needs, your energy changes. You stop reacting the same way. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing people who only show up when it suits them. And suddenly, the same people who once felt comfortable around you begin to act uneasy. Silence plays a huge role in this stage. When you stop filling every pause with reassurance and effort, others are forced to sit with their own behavior. Before, you would smooth things over quickly. You would apologize first, even when you weren't at fault. You would send messages to keep conversations alive. Now, when you choose not to do those things, the silence stretches. And in that silence, people start noticing the imbalance they were used to ignoring. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection. That is why it feels so powerful and so uncomfortable at the same time. For you, silence can feel especially difficult because your identity may have been built around being the one who keeps harmony. You were the peacekeeper, the listener, the one who made sure no one felt left out. So when you begin to step back, your nervous system reacts with anxiety. It tells you that you are being selfish or cold, because it is used to measuring your worth by how much you give. But what is actually happening is that you are finally giving others the chance to reveal who they are when they no longer have your constant emotional support to lean on. Chasing is the habit that used to keep everything together. You chased by checking in first, by fixing misunderstandings quickly, by tolerating behavior that didn't sit right with you just to avoid conflict. At the time, it felt like loyalty and kindness, but chasing also created a hidden hierarchy in your relationships. You were the one working to maintain the connection, and they were the one deciding how much effort they wanted to give back. The moment you stop chasing, that dynamic is exposed. The comfort they once felt begins to crack because they can no longer rely on you to carry the emotional weight. This is where many empaths feel guilt. You may start questioning yourself. Am I being too sensitive now? Am I overreacting? Why do people seem uncomfortable around me when I'm just being more honest and calm? But the truth is, when you stop overgiving, you disrupt patterns that benefited others. People who are used to your silence about their behavior may feel judged when you start setting quiet boundaries. Not because you attack them, but because your new calmness acts like a mirror. And mirrors can be uncomfortable for those who don't like what they see. The shift you are experiencing is not about becoming colder or harsher. It is about your light returning to its natural brightness after being dimmed for too long. When your energy was low and you were constantly overextending yourself, others could behave however they wanted without consequence. Your kindness acted like a cushion that softened the impact of their actions. Now that cushion is gone, and suddenly their words and behaviors land exactly as they are. That is why it can feel like you are exposing them, even though you are simply no longer hiding the truth. There is also a deeper psychological reason why people react strongly when an empath begins to heal. When someone has grown used to a certain version of you, they build their behavior around that version. They expect you to forgive quickly, to stay quiet, to keep showing up. When you change, it forces them to confront the fact that they may have taken advantage of your patience or misunderstood your silence as weakness. Not everyone is ready to face that realization, so instead of reflecting on themselves, they may accuse you of changing, becoming distant, or acting different. In the next part, we're going to talk about what actually happens in people's minds when you stop chasing and start protecting your energy, why some people try harder to keep you once they feel your distance, and why others quietly disappear. Understanding these reactions will help you stop taking their discomfort personally and start seeing it as a natural response to your growth, not a sign that you did something wrong. When you begin to step back after years of being the one who keeps everything emotionally together, you are not just changing your behavior. You are changing the emotional contract people had with you. For a long time, they learned that no matter what they did, you would still reach out, still smooth things over, still give them the benefit of the doubt. That predictability made them comfortable. So when you suddenly stop reaching out as often, when you take longer to reply, or when you simply allow silence to exist, their mind begins to search for an explanation. Humans are wired to notice changes in patterns, especially when those changes affect their sense of security and control in a relationship. This is where the psychology of stepping back becomes powerful. Your silence is not just the absence of words. It is a signal that the dynamic has shifted. Before, you were the one managing the emotional temperature of the relationship. Now that responsibility falls back on them. Some people will feel confused at first. They may replay past conversations in their head, wondering if they said something wrong. Others will feel a quiet anxiety because they were used to your constant reassurance, and now that reassurance is gone. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection. It forces people to sit with their own thoughts instead of being distracted by your effort. When you stop reaching out, several things can happen in their mind. Some will start to value your presence more because they finally feel what it's like when you are not there to absorb their stress or entertain their boredom. Your absence creates a contrast that makes your past effort more visible. Others will feel challenged by the loss of control. If they were used to you always coming back first, your distance may feel like a threat to their ego. Instead of admitting that they miss your energy, they might label you as distant or dramatic to protect their self-image. And then there are those who simply move on without much reaction, revealing that their connection to you was based more on convenience than genuine care. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection, and what it reflects is different for every person. Even when you understand this on a logical level, your body may still react with the old habit of wanting to fix the silence. You may find yourself staring at your phone, typing a message, deleting it, typing again. The urge to text or call often comes from discomfort rather than true necessity. Your nervous system is used to solving tension by taking action. So when there is tension and you do nothing, it feels wrong, almost irresponsible. To break this pattern, you need simple, practical steps that give you another way to process those emotions without falling back into chasing. One effective method is the delayed response rule. When you feel the urge to shout, give yourself a specific waiting period, even if it's just a few hours or a full day. During that time, do something that physically moves your body or engages your mind, like going for a walk, doing a workout, or focusing on a task that requires concentration. Most emotional impulses lose their intensity with time. By the time your waiting period ends, you often realize that the message you wanted to send was more about calming your anxiety than about building a meaningful connection. Another helpful practice is to write down what you wish you could say, not to send it, but to release it. You might write, "I feel ignored," or "I miss how we used to talk," or even, "I'm angry that I was always the one trying." Seeing these thoughts on paper helps you understand your own emotions more clearly. Once they are expressed privately, you feel less pressure to express them impulsively to someone who may not be ready or willing to respond in a healthy way. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection, and sometimes that reflection needs to happen inside you before it happens between you and someone else. As you step back from chasing, your daily focus needs to shift. If you remove the energy you used to spend on constantly managing relationships but don't replace it with something meaningful, you may feel empty or restless. That emptiness can tempt you to return to old patterns just to feel connected again. Instead, you need to build routines that remind you that your life has value beyond who is texting you. This can be as simple as setting small daily goals that are about your own growth, whether that is learning a new skill, improving your health, or spending time in environments that feel peaceful and supportive. You may also begin to notice which people in your life already show up consistently without being chased. These are the relationships that deserve more of your attention because they are built on mutual effort rather than emotional dependency. When you invest more in these balanced connections, you start to experience what healthy interaction actually feels like. Over time, this resets your expectations and makes it easier to walk away from one-sided dynamics because you have a real example of something better. Stepping back is not about creating distance just to make people miss you. It is about creating space where truth can surface. Some people will step forward because they value you. Others will step back because your energy no longer serves their comfort. Either way, you gain clarity. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection, and the reflections you see during this period will guide your next decisions in ways that constant noise and chasing never could. At some point after the silence has stretched long enough to feel unfamiliar, you may see their name appear on your screen again. A message, a like, a casual "Hey, how have you been?" This moment is where many people lose the progress they fought so hard to build, because the return of someone you cared about can trigger relief, hope, and fear all at once. Your mind may rush to fill in the gaps, imagining that they finally understand your worth or that things will go back to the way they used to be, only better this time. But this is exactly where you need to stay grounded and remember why you stepped back in the first place. If they come back, your first responsibility is not to respond quickly. Your first responsibility is to respond wisely. You do not need to punish them or act cold, but you do need to slow the pace of the interaction. When you reply immediately and fall back into long conversations, you send a signal that nothing has really changed. Instead, keep your responses calm, polite, and measured. Give the connection space to rebuild naturally rather than forcing it back to its old intensity. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection. And even when they return, that reflection still needs time to show you whether their behavior has truly shifted or if they are simply reaching out because they feel your absence. Boundaries become essential in this stage. If someone disappeared when you needed consistency, you cannot ignore that history just because they are back. Boundaries are not about building walls. They are about setting standards for how you allow yourself to be treated. You can listen to what they say, but you also need to watch what they do over time. Do they follow through on plans now? Do they communicate more clearly? Do they respect your time and energy? Change is not proven through one message. It is proven through consistent action. Your job is not to convince them to change. Your job is to observe whether they already have. This is where pacing protects you. You are allowed to take things slowly. You are allowed to say, "Let's see how things go," instead of jumping straight back into emotional closeness. When you move at a slower pace, you give yourself the chance to notice red flags that you once ignored because you were too focused on keeping the connection alive. You also show them that access to you is no longer automatic. It is something that is earned through respect and consistency, not assumed because of your kind nature. But not everyone comes back. Sometimes the silence remains and days turn into weeks, and weeks into months. This is where you face a different kind of challenge. You may start to wonder if you were too harsh, if you should have reached out just once more, if maybe you lost something important by choosing your dignity over comfort. These thoughts are normal because your mind is trying to close an emotional loop that never received a clear ending. Yet the absence of a response is an ending in itself. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection. And when someone chooses not to step forward after you step back, they are revealing the level of effort they were willing to invest all along. Closure, in many cases, does not come from a final conversation. It comes from accepting what people consistently show you through their actions. If someone truly valued the connection and had the emotional maturity to repair it, they would make an effort to reach out, to ask questions, to take responsibility where needed. When that effort never appears, you are not being abandoned in the present. You are being shown the truth about the past. That truth can hurt, but it also frees you from holding on to an illusion of what the relationship could have been. Moving forward with dignity means resisting the urge to create your own closure by sending long messages explaining everything you feel. Those messages often come from a place of wanting to be understood, but they rarely change the outcome. Instead, they reopen wounds and place your healing back into the hands of someone who has already shown inconsistency. Real closure is quieter. It looks like choosing not to chase answers from people who chose silence. It looks like investing your energy into places where it is returned, not questioned. If we step back and look at everything we've covered, the pattern becomes clear. You step back because constant chasing was draining your self-respect. The silence that followed felt uncomfortable, but it created space for truth to surface. Some people returned, showing you where a connection might still exist. Others stayed away, revealing that their presence in your life depended on your effort alone. Silence is not rejection. Silence is reflection. It reflected their intentions, your habits, and the real balance of each relationship. Your one clear action step from here is simple but powerful. From this day forward, stop measuring your worth by who reaches out and start measuring your peace by how consistent you are with your own boundaries. Each time you feel the urge to chase, pause and ask yourself whether that action aligns with the kind of life and relationships you say you want. This single pause, repeated over time, will reshape your behavior and protect your energy more than any long speech or emotional confrontation ever could. You are not losing people because you became colder or more distant. You are losing people who were only comfortable with a version of you that had no limits. The ones who truly value you will adapt to your growth. The ones who don't will fall away, not because you pushed them, but because they were never prepared to meet you at your new level of self-respect. That is not a tragedy. That is clarity. Hold on to that calm power. You do not need to chase, explain, or prove your worth to anyone who is unsure about you. Let your actions stay steady, your boundaries stay firm, and your energy stay protected. And if you're ready to go deeper into how to recognize the difference between genuine effort and temporary attention, watch the next video where we break down the subtle signs that show you exactly who's truly meant to stay in your life.